Kenya is facing a constitutional headache after lapse of legal timelines for delimiting new constituencies. Of course, that is a story on page 4 of the People Daily. Another story making headlines of the People Daily is that PD goes green, and of course the People Daily evolves into a bold new future. Of course, today marks the day that you will now be able to access this particular newspaper on the digital platform as opposed to a physical newspaper like you've been used to. And of course, for you to be able to access that is at epaper.peopledaily.digital. That's where you can be able to access the People Daily newspaper. Yes, let's take a look at what you're waking up to as far as the Standard is concerned. And also, the same story on the Standard, we are in a crisis. That is IBC. Only court can save us. Now, delays in recruiting commissioners for the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission has come back to bite the country. The CEO says the delimitation of boundaries process is stuck after all deadlines were missed, and they are waiting for the top court to give an advisory opinion on what happens next. Another story making headlines, of course, on the Standard is Gachagua runs into funeral goons, and of course that story will also be forming the basis of a conversation this particular morning. Also, Interpol holds 24 Kenyans for cyber fraud. That's another story making headlines on the Standard. Let's take a look at what you're waking up to as far as the Daily Nation is concerned. And the top story on the Daily Nation is this man Omtata. Busia Senator Okoiti Andrew Omtata is a man on a mission, buoyed by support from the youth. During the recent anti-government protests, he has set his sights on the highest seat on the land. But first, he has formed a team to advise him on his chances in the 2027 State House contest. Will the activist turned politician maneuver the rough and tumble of Kenyan politics? Does he have the financial muscle to mount a presidential campaign? Of course, we have somebody that was in the presidential race in the 2022 elections. Of course, they'll be telling us whether that is a possibility or not. Okay, hired goons after me that claims Gachagua as chaos erupt at funeral. That's a story also on the Daily Nation, I beg your pardon. And of course, that does it for the newspapers here as far as what you're waking up to on the dailies today is concerned. I want us to get into a conversation this particular morning and just take stock of what the week has been. And of course, some of the stories that have been, making headlines on the dailies, what are going to be forming our conversation this particular morning. And joining me for this particular conversation, I have Nordin Kagai, an advocate of the High Court. Thank you so much for making time, Kida.
Thank you for having me, brother.
Next to him, of course, we have Odoyo Owidi, political analyst. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you very much.
Good morning.
Morning to you.
Morning to you too. And of course, Honorable Justina Wamai, political analyst and of course running mate in the 2022 presidential elections. How are you? It's been a minute.
Yes.
It's been forever.
Kabisa.
Umekuwa wapi?
Nalea mtoto.
Thank you so much for coming this particular morning. I want us to start with this.
Yes.
There's something that is happening in the Mount Kenya region. And yesterday, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua was actually attacked. I want us to listen to this particular story on what developed yesterday before we get into this particular conversation. Dan? What began as a solemn burial service turned chaotic, forcing the impeached Deputy President to flee for safety. Gachagua has now squarely blamed the government for the attack, with his allies describing the event as an assassination attempt. In a Facebook post following the attack, Gachagua alleged that the government had withdrawn his security detail, leaving him vulnerable to such incidents. The statement reads, and I quote, "Earlier this week, the government withdrew the final aspects of my security that were in place following the impeachment process we are contesting. While we chose not to raise an issue with the decision, it was expected that anyone who has served at my level in government will be accorded protection even after leaving office. It now appears this move was deliberate to leave me exposed to attacks like the one witnessed today. This is a sad state of affairs and a major low for the government, which seems complicit in these actions." The burial service for Elias Mwangi started peacefully but descended into chaos towards the end. Goons attacked the VIP tent hosting Gachagua and his allies, with chairs flying and attendees scrambling for safety. Limuru MP John Liragu, a staunch supporter of President William Ruto, notably sat in a different section of the venue, away from Gachagua. He later condemned the chaos, which is believed to have been politically motivated due to Gachagua's growing influence in the Mount Kenya region.
Former Deputy President, you know, if the government assesses and we present or somebody presents a case, it should be reviewed, and it should be made sure that he is safe, like all of us, because I would imagine he is not just an ordinary person.
We shall hold the state culpable for that. Hii sio serikali ya kwanza. Serikali zimekuwa mingi, duniani mzima kuna serikali na kukosolewa ni kawaida.
Kadhabishwa na hilo jambo sana. Tunaombea familia kabisa, na pia tunaomba msamaha kwa wanafamilia, sababu hakuna mtu mwenye anaweza tarajia jambo kama hili linaweza tendeka katika shughuli ya mazishi ya mwenda zao.
The chaos comes on the heels of a scathing attack Gachagua launched against the Ruto-led administration just last week. He vowed to provide political direction to the people of Mount Kenya, a region that has been a stronghold for President Ruto in the coming days. Brian Amoai, K24. All right, and let me start with this. That particular story covers what happened yesterday, and this is just to some extent what we've been able to experience, especially coming from the Mount Kenya region. There's a time we had, you know, our residents booing the head of state when he tried to deliver a speech that was in Embu, and it's been a very shaky ground in the Mount Kenya region. Yesterday, it was chaotic, and there was an argument that this is something that has not been seen, especially, you know, in fightings within the Mount Kenya region. What exactly is happening to Mount Kenya? Let me start with you, Justina.
I think the mountain has gone full cycle. We have been in power, and then we have tested no impeachment and how it feels. So I think what you are going through is just teething problems too. You know, the impeachment has really beaten people the hard way. However, I think there is division also. There's those ones who are supporting the government and those ones who are not supporting government. So when they clash, it becomes a whole battleground. But it's just part of growth, testing power, testing impeachment. We might go into opposition in future, but maybe a lesson going forward. I think the same way the church put a stand that politicians should be given priority in church, I think even for burials, because the politicians shouldn't be going there to show their, you know, prowess. It should just be, if you're attending a burial, attend and go home. Because the more someone is seen to be given airtime or to be allowed to speak is breeding a lot of temperatures. So it's just full cycle for the mountain.
Rigathi Gachagua has come out to blame the government, saying this is a law, especially of the government. For somebody that for a government that I worked for, it would be expected that at close you know, given a little bit, enjoy a little bit of security, because I did serve in this particular government, but that has not been the case. The security was withdrawn. Now he says it is the government, and some political, you know, allies allied to him are saying that it is because maybe those allied to the government are afraid of his growing influence in the region, you know, with what happened, especially last week on Sunday.
Though I've never served in government, though I've tested security, and when they withdrew, you know, they just pick their security. So it's just normal. If you're not in power, they just withdraw. But I don't know, for him to blame the government also is a law for him, considering he was the one who supported this government. He knew them, he said they were friends. So even if there's issues for us to see as the citizens, I think he has access to the president. He can call him and have a conversation. He's burdening us with unnecessary issues. Kenyans have troubles. The doctors are going to strike. So I think this issue is something that UDA can handle behind the scenes. This is a political party issue, and the ordinary citizens who never voted for them just want service delivery. So they're really messing up the whole situation.
Okay. Nudin, Mount Kenya region, a region that supported President William Ruto, one region that in most cases is always looked at as, you know, speaks in one voice. Seems to be doing what most people do not expect from in the political scene.
Well, that's because in politics there are no permanent friends or enemies. Interests, so long as interests align, people will work together. And you can see clearly his interest and that of the president no longer align, and that is why he's in the cold, quote unquote. But first and foremost, I think we forget that was a burial, and the family, of course, you know, once people do that in where you're going to bury one of you, it's not fair. You know, you can take your political squabbles elsewhere, because chairs were broken, so they have to pay that, the tent or whatever. So it's a bit sad. Like she rightfully says, politicians like to take every single opportunity they get so they can speak. But going back to Gachagua, you see, what is happening is not new in this country. I'll take you back. We remember in 2023 when Azimio were doing their demonstrations and Raila's car was hit by tear gas. There were issues of quote-unquote assassination. There were issues of some who have been arrested, the withdrawal of Raila, Kalonzo, and ETAL security. And he was the one in charge of that. Remember those photos at 5 a.m.? That tells you something. That Orengo once said that government eats its own children. So now he's been eaten by his same government that he says he fought for, he put in office. So I'm not trying to be, to laugh at his tribulation. All I'm saying is those who serve in office, remember that there's a day you'll be out. So once you serve to the interests of the people. But if you're trying to show that you have power and everything, a day will come when that same power will be used against you. So today you have those who are anti-Gachagua in government. Tomorrow they may be on this other side, and whatever he's going through, they might go through. So in this, we just say, as he rightfully tell us, power is transient. Make sure you deliver services and avoid this high-headedness and this. You see, when power corrupts you, that's where you get where you're seeing. Right now, he's actually understanding how those who went through what he put them through are feeling. But I believe in the fullness of time, those who are also there right currently, if they find themselves outside, then they'll experience the same thing.
It's a cycle.
It is a cycle, and it's unfortunate that this is what is happening. And I actually don't support this. I don't condone it, because you see, injustice anywhere, justice everywhere. Okay. So this is him today. Tomorrow it will be somebody else. Right. And if at all the issues that he has done, you see, even the devil has his day in court. Okay. So if he has done anything, you feel like now they're talking about the 1.2 billion. Refurbishments. If at all you feel, you are parliament who budgeted that, if you feel that there's something that happened, take him to court. Okay. So we avoid this issue of politicizing everything and putting the country in a tense moment that we really don't need, with so many things that are not going right. Okay.
Oidi, Gachagua says the government is out to get him. What sort of threat is he when it comes to the Mount Kenya electorate moving forward to 2027? That if at all the statement he's given in terms of, I feel like the government is the one that, you know, is complicit when it comes to this particular attack, is anything to go by?
I'm yet to see anything that connects the government to what happened. I am yet to see. But for Gachagua to run very quickly and say the government is after him, it was an assassination attempt. It means, therefore, that this was planned and he knew what to say after it. Let me tell you, you need to interpret this the same way you interpreted the stoning of Ruto's cars in Kisumu towards the last general election. When you look at the chairs being thrown and stones being thrown and the vehicles were not even trying to take off. They were waiting for as much damage to happen to it as possible. What is happening here is what I have seen in politics since the multi-party began in 1992. There is self-inflicted damages to bring public sympathy. I have seen them. Look at this, even saying that the MP sat elsewhere. In Embu, Gachagua sat elsewhere. Why didn't you interpret that the same way? You know, when you come and say...
Okay, the argument here is that for him to have sat in a different location and he's allied to the president, he might have seen that the tent that it was allocated for the VIP would actually, you know, would be attacked to some extent.
You will let me talk and then you will deal with it after I have spoken. You have no business interrupting this. So I have seen this. I have been in this opposition politics. In fact, when you see this happening, Embu and now here in Kiambu, and it will continue, that is a clear sign that the regime in the benches of the opposition is changing. Somebody else will be there. I was in Luo-Nyanza when all these things were being organized everywhere. Sometimes back when President Mwai Kibaki came to a funeral in Homa Bay County, Raila arrived when the president had sat and everything, and caused a lot of mayhem. It is a way of looking for sympathy from the people you want to back you up.
Okay.
Rigathi Gachagua is looking for sympathy from the mountain because he's dying to be the kingpin. He is dying to be the spokesperson. He's dying to be the king, the only leader in that region. So I think he should have even taken a day to try to find out who was after this. And when you see the damages on those cars, and nobody even had a small cut on the ear, it tells you this is all choreographed, well planned, executed according to plan. We have seen this. Okay.
Okay. Let's look at it politically, because Justina mentioned something when we started. That from what you're saying, it could be a political message, you know. Plan, exactly. But does this mean that the mountain to some extent has left the government now that you're saying somebody else is going to be in opposition in the coming days?
That is a narrative that the people who are arranging this would like to go on, that the mountain has left the government. The mountain has not left the government. I am sure those people who are throwing chairs are also from the mountain. Whether they were hired or not, they are from the mountain. And you see, this is something you would not do to Raila Odinga in Luoland. It will not happen. So if it happened to Gachagua, it means he's yet to capture the mountain back into his wings. He will maybe, if you continue with this and nobody seems to notice. But remember also, the mountain has been in power since 1963, every term. You look at it. If they are not the vice president or DP, they are the president. And they have never experienced a situation where now the government is there and they have no clear representative. So the adrenaline will definitely also go up. Okay. So anything they are told to do, they will do. But they must also experience the fact that Kenya is a large country with so many communities. And if we share it equally and equitably, that is the only time we will have peace.
Okay. You started by saying that the government, you know, to some extent, you've tested full circle, being the president, tested what you're calling impeachment, and now but you're trying to, you know, find a footing when it comes to matters of opposition. Has the Mount Kenya region, has the government of Kenya Kwanza lost the Mount Kenya region votes?
The Mount Kenya region, I think, has begun thinking like every other Kenyan who is not from the mountain. What the people want is just service delivery. If you look at them, they're always complaining that business has gone down. They're complaining that even the bursaries, the issues are complaining are matters money. So if Kenya Kwanza, what I believe, delivers on the promises they made, probably they'll support them. I think most of the people who were there, some were even so shocked to see what happened. Others were saying these are hired goons. So the ones who came there were just hired. The other ones who are not fighting were ordinary people who are just going through the same problems any ordinary Kenyan is going through. So my prayer to the Kenya Kwanza administration, because they're the ones who are there, they're the ones who made promises, they were voted for overwhelmingly. The only way to ensure that they don't lose the mountain is to just deliver on services. If they don't deliver on services, then there's nothing they can do. And let me add that maybe in the 60s up to now, we have been arguing about the national cake. I'm of the standing that we should not see Kenya as a national cake. The cake is gone, the plate is lost. We have to cook another, we have to bake another cake. So the conversation going forward should be, what are we doing to ensure that everyone feels that they own this country? And it's not a matter of which tribe is in power. To be honest, even if the mountain, I'm Kikuyu, and if we have been in power for all that time, I've never felt it. They've never paid my fees, they've never given me food. So at the end of it all, for the ordinary Kenyan, because not all of us will be on the seat, they just want service delivery.
Yep. Nudin, we've seen, I don't know, what political message does this send, you know, just in the political scene when we look at it from that angle?
You see, it's realignments, and you can see from the fact that Gachagua seems like, since he's no longer, you know, they removed him from UDA. So he's no longer even a member of UDA. Okay. So, of course, he's planning his life after the court, because, you know, his mother's coming back, I think, in January or February. So he's planning his life post-UDA. And he himself said that moving forward, any further negotiations, they will have their own party. Okay. So, of course, he's trying to realign himself and save his political career as per court, and then see what comes ahead. Some are arguing that it's still early, and why are you doing all this right now? But you see, if it's about of being early and about of sympathy, he learned from the best, his boss. Because you remember, if my memory serves me right, he campaigned his entire tenure as deputy president. Mapema ni best. So that's why you see this is happening, all right? And if it's about sympathy, do you remember Matenge's statement? Some leaders are addicted to sympathy. So of course it is something that he knows very well, if at all that is what he's doing. So he learned from someone. And you know what they say, that if you're a student, of course you'll tweet your teacher most of the time. So I believe that we'll not stop seeing this, because the only way he'll remain relevant is if he appears. Because the moment he disappears and sits at home, you get forgotten. That's politics. And that's why you see, you go to a funeral, you get a politician, because that's the easiest way to talk to people, according to them, because it's not a crowd that you mobilize. People have come there on their own volition, and that is why during campaign seasons, these politicians attend every single burial. And some would say, "Uyu kijana alikuwa mtu mzuri," and sometimes it's a lady. It's just because they are trying to see that, to show that they're there with you. So I do believe that, as she rightfully says, we have more pressing issues as opposed to this. But you say a politician will always take care of their interest. But we have issues in this country that are dire. You have a situation where right now we have medical interns, who 2 of them have taken their lives. And nobody's talking about that in government, all right? You have a situation where they're not being paid for 4 months. How are you working for 4 months have been paid? And when you talk about, now they're telling them to negotiate. You know, their CBA says 206,000. Then government yesterday said, allow them to go to work, we'll pay them 70,000. And that 70,000, when you use the deduction, it comes to 41,000. And the jobs they do, 72 hours. You know, if it was you and I, you'd see what the magnitude of what they do. They technically run those hospitals. So when they say, let us negotiate, and the court decision that was given the other day, I think it was in September or August, they were told to have a negotiations. How will we negotiate when you already have a stand? It doesn't make sense. So I do believe that moving forward, priorities, because I have come to realize we don't have a money problem. It's how we spend this money. Because at the end of the day, taxes are collected, and then money is budgeted. If at all these interns are supposed to take the internship every single year, why don't you have a scenario where Parliament budgeted this money? It never happens.
We'll be talking about that, of course, as the strike looms. Yesterday I was sitting with Doug Giatella here, and said that the only thing that is going to stop them from actually going on this particular strike is if at all the government gets to honor their end of the bargain. Let me come to you, Odeo. And this is just still on the political front. We've seen, he mentioned issues to do with realignments, and now people have started coming out in terms of trying to position themselves for 2027. Of course, President William Ruto has been in Nyanza region, and now with the Mount Kenya vote seemingly divided, trying to find another basket that he can actually put his hand in. And we've also seen the Kenyan party, leaving the Azimio coalition and now saying we are actually, ready to work with anybody that comes on board as long as they are like-minded. We've seen Okiya Mtata right now trying to, endear himself to the people, to ahead of the 2027 elections. All these things are happening, before we even get to, just 2 years after the regime is already in power. And to some extent, somebody will argue it has not been enough time, or it's not enough, it is too early for the nation to actually go into a campaign mode. But already we've started seeing realignments as far as 2027 elections is concerned. When you look at that, what do you see as from a political angle?
I think the waters were disturbed and they are finding it level because of the impeachment of DP Gachagua. But what we are seeing today is really not a campaign as such. It's just people trying to find which block belongs to me. Where can I be heard the most? But even before I proceed with that, I must say the complaints against the government that are spirited, especially the media really pushes it, they are simply accelerated. You see, when you hear somebody saying, it is Ruto who promised, he has to deliver. Let me tell you, Uhuru promised us the Big Four agenda. This very healthcare, that very housing, manufacturing, and I think the last one was, but none of them was delivered. And nobody called him a liar. Nobody made all this noise. So let's give the president an opportunity to work. Every president make promises, and the majority of them don't deliver. It is even surprising that President William Ruto has delivered universal health care, affordable housing has been delivered because it is underway and constructions are going on. So I think we should go slow.
But some of the houses that were launched when he actually came into office was, you know, the construction of those houses started in the past regime.
Some of the houses?
That he launched as far as the affordable housing is concerned, some of them started in the past regime. So if you
they never moved anywhere. I don't remember any. I saw him launching in Homa Bay, Kisumu, and elsewhere. And those places were bare fields. And now houses are sprouting up.
Now, when he came into office, there are houses that actually people are occupying, and it was just you know, after the 2022 election. So that did start during the President Uhuru Kenyatta's time, and you know, completed just when he was finishing his term in office. And now, when the head of state came in,
I wanted to be told which one Uhuru started and President Uhuru went on, because people just talk, but when you ask them for evidence, there is really none.
Okay, we are also going to ask you for evidence to prove to us that he actually did not deliver. We take a break. We'll be back in a few.
I have given you evidence.
Follow the champions on the home of football. Watch the latest Man City content exclusively. Full match replays, extended highlights, coaches' interviews.
The target is not to win the Premier League, it's just, okay, next game, try to win it, this is what they have to do.
Players' interviews.
In general, the quality has been high and it's been good.
Behind the scenes and more. Every Saturday at 1 p.m. only on K24, the home of football. Have you watched K24? We would love to hear from you. Send us your feedback on what you like and what you don't like and why. You can use any platform to reach us. We can be reached on Facebook, Twitter, and WhatsApp.
At People Daily, we believe small actions lead to monumental changes. As we commit to a greener future, embrace simple steps, reduce, reuse, and recycle. It's time to go green. Kua Green. Switch off unused lights, opt for reusables over disposables, and support eco-friendly products. Each choice, no matter how small, makes a difference. Inspire others with your green journey, and together let's shape a more sustainable tomorrow. Kua Green is an initiative of the People Daily.
Get Africa's best entertainment anytime, anywhere.
Bazinga.
And now for even less.
That's what we're here for, duh.
With DSTV Stream and Safaricom Home Fiber.
Wow.
Just dial *400# then 0 to choose this DSTV special offer. Select your Safaricom Home Fiber account and the DSTV Stream package you want, now at a discounted special price.
Great.
Then select your Home Fiber plan, confirm payment, pay using your M-Pesa PIN, and click on the link received to sign in to your new DSTV Stream account.
Simple.
Only with DSTV Stream and Safaricom Home Fiber. T's and C's apply.
I will love you without condition.
Oh yeah, Nairobi, Kenya comes alive on the 7th